Okay, hey everybody, welcome to our webinar today. Coastal's presenting with Tim Check here at Epson, and we're excited to have you with us. We're going to be showing quite a few different things with how you can expand your opportunities with fluorescent dye sublimation printing. So Tim, thanks for joining us today. Excited to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So looking forward to diving into this. Epson's been such a huge asset in the dye sub world, and you guys are changing things again with this new fluorescent printer. So I know we've got a lot of folks interested in it. So if we can jump right in if you're ready for it.
All right, let's get to it. I thanks everybody for taking the time out this morning, and hopefully we'll be able to share some good information, some ideas on some business ideas that you can use to help kind of keep your business going and expanding. And certainly we're mainly focused on the fluorescent applications, but there is a fair bit of information in here that really does apply to dye sub in just general. So with that said, let's first start off with a little bit of a question of, I'm not sure how many, just to kind of get a feel, how many people are familiar with dye sublimation? I know there's a poll, I believe, that we have for this.
Yep. It should be sent out. We have it going out now. So I'm not sure how that it shows up. We're working with a new, yep, people are responding back already. All right. So, and then when the poll's done, I can end it and share it so we can all see who we are, who's in the group with us. So.
Well, this is good. Yeah. It's when I first started with dye sublimation back, it's been 7 years now or so. I'm actually managing our dye sublimation products. The biggest thing, just talking with people, it seemed like it was voodoo magic. Everybody has a different recipe or a different way to do something, and you got to talk to this guy and know that rub the printer just to kind of rub the belly of the printer while it's printing to make it just come out perfect. It actually is not nearly as complicated as it sounds, but there are a couple steps to it. So it looks like, is that the poll? Is that a?
Yep.
All right. So we got kind of a good mix of folks with some background and some who are a little bit like, what in the world's going on?
Right.
Well, I'll just try to briefly describe this. Sometimes it's good with videos to actually see the process in person, but virtually, if you think of this, the one big difference with dye sublimation is it's not just like printing a picture with a printer where you load photo paper into the printer on your computer, you open up the image you want to click, you print it, goes to the printer, the ink gets printed right onto the paper, and then you end up with a piece of paper that has the finished results ready to go. That's great for traditional photo printing, sign printing, a lot of other technologies, but with sublimation, it's a two-step process. So when we do the printing, you go into your software, you open up the image that you want to print, you print it. The printer puts down a special type of ink, and the magic is really in the ink that we use. So we put down ink and we apply that to what's called a transfer paper. Basically, it's a way to transfer that ink away from the printer over to the item you want to color, or you want to dye the colors to. So the paper is just really a vehicle to move that over to something. From there, then we take that, we match that up with whatever that item is, whether it's a pair of flip-flops, it's whether we're doing a sports jersey, we're making pillowcases, a flag banner. We're just taking that paper, putting the paper next to that material. And the key is that material has to have something with polyester in it. Where the magic happens is when we put down that ink is dormant ink, or basically it's not activated yet. Once we start applying heat, and this is where the magic really happens, that ink literally jumps off the page. So when we apply heat, the pores of the polyester on the material open up. The ink that's on the paper turns to a gas and starts moving over to the material. And what happens is it penetrates through the pores of the polyester, that plastic coating that's on there. When you remove the heat, the coating locks back up and seals in that ink, that colorant gets locked inside of the material. So literally, there's no ink on the surface, but it's part of the actual material. And so this is what makes this wonderful for performance apparel, because you can't the fabric can still breathe, but you don't feel the ink. You can't wash it off. You can't rub it, scratch it or anything. It's just there forever. Other types of things like coffee mugs, There's just a clear coating, clear polyester coating on the outside of the ceramic mug. Same process, and that sits there. So what you'll find is where a lot of the questions typically come into is the printing part, where we actually are doing the print onto the paper, is really straightforward. There's a little bit more that comes to it where, okay, how do I get my paper in my mug together and stick this into a heat press or a piece of photo metal or to a large flag banner? There's different types of heat systems that are available, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. And this is why it's really important to make sure that if you're thinking about this or you want to do something, make sure you give Coastal a call to find out what's the right product for you, right system that will make it work as a whole complete thing. It's not just the printer or it's not just the blanks. It's really a whole system of how this works together. Hope that kind of gives a little bit of an idea how this works. So our main goal is basically what Epson's really focused on. And what we're going to be talking about now as we're going to jump into some of the applications is really our part is the finished overall goods, but what Epson does for this is really brings in that print solution to make sure that whole part works. So you have that finished transfer paper ready to go in to be able to use that to create all sorts of different items. So with that said, let's hop into a little bit about what we're doing with some of the applications people are doing. Some of the exciting part to this is one of the things that we're highlighting here in this event is more about some of the fluorescent, bringing in fluorescent colors into use in the products. There's a couple big reasons for this. The biggest part for when we start getting to sports apparel or sports activewear is increased visibility. And that could be in both. Usually there's two ways to look at that. So a soccer player running around on a field, if they have higher visibility on their apparel, so it's brighter, vivid, more color, it's easier to follow. So as a spectator, it's easier to watch and find out where people are. There's more contrast if it's darker lighting or if they're playing on a dark green field. You can see players better, so it's easier to see players, so you can enjoy the game better. But if you're also doing stuff where you are actually the active person, so for example, cycling apparel is one that catches a lot, or running apparel, where you want to have more visibility. So you're out on a road running or biking, you want to make sure people can see you. And having that extra visibility goes a long way to making sure that drivers know where you are. So it actually can help boost your safety to doing that. It's not just sports apparel. There's certainly other applications too. Construction apparel, safety apparel. Typically there's actually a ANSI standard for high visibility clothing. And what's great is with sublimation and the addition of adding in a reflective tape to the apparel, you can make stuff that does comply with the US safety standards for high visibility clothing. But a little bit different side, something that people like is you can tactfully use fluorescent colors in a normal design to create all sorts of unique products and just stuff that has some really bright colors. And doing that, you can have a unique product that is you something that's very different. A customer may not find that anywhere else. And again, that expands the capability of the range of products you can offer, making something unique, making your store different, and be able to have something that stands out from the crowd. That last part, this is kind of more to the novelty side, but is actually definitely very exciting. Is the fluorescent inks are blacklight reactive. So not only in daylight with the sun's UV light will make those fluorescent colors get very bright. People are using this for club apparel, for like music festivals, different areas where they want to have something that just really stands out. Anytime there's a UV light in there, literally the image just glows. So it's pretty cool. That's my spiel on the fluorescent colors, why people are doing it. Let's take a look at what people are actually doing and how much, what type of products they're making with this. I think it's important to kind of see. So just to kind of familiarize, I have a couple of these slides that are here. And what I'm mostly looking at, I'm just going to pick an application or two that I have listed on here. So in the case of an all-over t-shirt, just using this as an example, a typical price for a product like that may run somewhere around $35 sell price. Depending on the content that you're putting onto it, that can really change it or make it really unique. But when you look at the cost of doing it, it's about $8.20. And this is, I'm using kind of, if you bought one shirt and the ink and paper, just retail prices on this, what it would be. So the $8.20, what that turns out to be is about $6.25 of that was for the t-shirt, just the t-shirt alone. 50 cents rounded up, we'll just call it $2 for the ink and the paper is where that's coming from. And that gets us to be able to our cost. We're looking at something like that, the value of doing that type of application or selling that type of product still in the high 70% gross margin. And certainly there's labor and shipping and all sorts of other costs that are there, but just to give you an idea of just what some of these applications are doing. The apparel space is an absolutely huge marketplace. And what's exciting about dye sublimation and doing this digitally is you don't have to sit on stockpiles, massive amounts of inventory of finished goods. You may only carry a few different products in stock, just only a couple. And as you sell them, simply just replenish. There's some points you don't want to make them every one at a time if you have cut and sew type apparel in there, but you certainly don't need to make thousands of these at a time. And this is what dye sublimation, everyone can be unique, everything can be personalized, and there's really no change to the cost of doing it. A little bit different type application, and I got a couple here with, we start getting stuff to get people's attention. So if you're putting a big flag banner outside, one of the exciting things is when you start adding things with fluorescent application or fluorescent inks to this, it definitely does exactly what it's supposed to do. It captures the attention of people as they're going by. It's really bright, it's high visibility. Things you'd want people to notice on a sign. Boom, it's there. Hey, there's something really important today. And this is a great way how people are using that to be able to differentiate and be able to get more visibility to their products. Walk around a trade show floor, you'll see a lot of soft signage, pop-up banners, just different types of dimensional displays. And that fluorescent ink makes this even stand out even more to get a message across. Something that's in here, these are kind of a neat product. Anybody that's in the sign or kind of working as a sign, producing signage. Some of these things, like for example, the 8-foot teardrop banners, they sell for a little over $100 typically. The great thing for this is if you work with a customer that wants to do this, or you work with some local stores in a shopping plaza and they want to put up some signs to highlight different events or certain stores that are in the plaza. What's great is the initial cost is most of that is actually the flag, like what do you call it? The support system. So there's a tent pole that goes inside and a ground stake that are there. That makes up most of the material cost. If you happen to have that, maybe $100, you may be able to get someone to do a monthly or annual contract where you can change their graphics out monthly or every 2 months. The actual cost of the fabric to be able to do it and the printing cost to create those banners is only a few dollars. It's very inexpensive. And so once you have the initial cost of the support system, the flag banners holder in place, you can reuse that over and over again. And all you're doing is replacing the fabric. It becomes much, much more profitable down the road. But even an initial, if you just sold one off, it's still a very profitable type product. Into a little bit more of the edge graphics, it's a little bit different. This is still in the signage spot, and I have my camera on, and it's kind of tough in the background. I have this little, I'm trying to point to it. I have this kind of a beach image that's over my shoulder. This is a Silicone Edge graphic. I haven't yet mounted it to my in my office here, but one of the exciting things about this is the fabric itself that we're using is porous, so the sound can go through that panel, that fabric, quite easily. On the inside of that, I have acoustic foam. And so what I can do is by putting that up against the walls in here, in my home office, I can really reduce the amount of echo that you have and make a room feel much warmer. Well, not only can I do that in the office, but restaurants or places that want to do that, schools that have in a gymnasium, they might want to put some graphics up. What's cool about this is it really kind of cuts back on a lot of the echo, all the people talking in an area, all that background chatter can really get absorbed by this and makes the room feel much more warmer, much more cozier room, and you can hear people a lot better. Silicone Edge graphics are what this is all about. Is it's basically have a metal frame that has a little groove. That what you do is on the fabric itself, you add a silicone bead or strip that gets stitched in or glued on. And you basically wedge that silicone strip into the groove on the metal frame. These are easy to pop up. They're easy to remove. And once you have the frame installed, it's extremely easy to send out graphics or replacement graphics. You can fold these up, put them in a FedEx envelope, mail them out to someone. They can install it in a matter of minutes. Because we're talking about polyester, everything's 100% recyclable. So it's very easy to install. And what's cool is that when they come out of the envelope, they may be folded. There may be some wrinkles or creases. By just sitting and a little bit of tension that's on there by installing them to the frame, those wrinkles will work out on their own in a matter of an hour or two. Switching over to a little bit different on decor. This doesn't necessarily have to be home decor. It can also be corporate decor. Some of these fluorescent throw blankets that are in here are really kind of cool, trippy blacklight style. Are definitely some really good value. The material, using like a Sherpa, a really heavy, like woolly feeling polyester fleece blanket, using that as a 50 by 60 inch throw. The material for that, the fabric does cost a bit more, but the ink and the paper involved in it still is about $2 to be able to do that. And something that you're looking around a 70+% gross margin for that. Pillowcases, certainly could do that. Throw pillows. But something that's really unique, even might not be for so much for home, but for restaurants that would want to do this, is the actual decor where you're sublimating to complete tabletops. And this picture at the very top corner with all the faces, you could do this. I'm based out of just our company's headquarters here is in Long Beach, California, and this week was supposed to be this past weekend was supposed to be our the Grand Prix. We have all these Indy cars zipping around the town. And what's really kind of neat is in the past, some of the little food eateries and stuff, they put out some really unique tables for people where they go to all the food trucks, but there'd be tabletops for people to eat at. And you'd have all the different racers, the pictures of the racers on there and their cars from past history. Awesome way to do it. Those tabletops are just something to really, if a restaurant would bring that in, it can really tie a theme of a restaurant together and really just add that much more reason to go to that type of place. All right, so I'm still talking here quite a bit. So I got just a couple more here that are on some of the applications, but promotional gifting items. These are more on the soft goods side of things. Things like koozies, mouse pads, gaming pads, I guess they're called these days. All sorts of different types of gifts that people can come up with that are fabric-based. You can see the cost of producing this stuff is the printing cost, the ink and paper for many of these items are very inexpensive. The blanks do cost money, but in all of that, the margins for being able to produce these type of products are very, very positive for doing this. Generally 70+% margins on these. Lastly, just on some of the more hard goods, this is an exciting spot where there's different brands that make materials, but coffee mugs. I know that sounds like the ubiquitous coffee mug. They still make a lot of money. People really having a coffee mug, if it just has a basic saying on it, it's one thing, but when it has something personal to a person, and, a picture of their child or their grandson, it's something that people really absolutely connect with. They love it. They cherish it. Coffee mugs like that, personalizing it, you can see the cost, the ink and paper, under 3 cents. It doesn't really cost hardly anything to make the coffee mug. Even at the mugs, and there's all different types of mugs, but I'm just using kind of more of a traditional 11-ounce coffee mug, $1.60, still turning around selling these $10 or more. That's a lot of money that's in here. Something that seems very simple as a coffee mug, it still is a really good moneymaker. There's a lot of other types of products too, award plaques, photo medals that are able to do stuff indoor for having photographic content. Those photo panels last 65 were tested with a Chromolux panel, 65+ years indoor viewing conditions, outdoor with some of the outdoor rated panels up to 3 years outdoor in direct sunlight. They have a lot of different uses there, and certainly as those panels get larger, there's some more the value of those panels become more and more valuable. If you're just printing, it's one thing, but if you start having your own content to put on those panels, an example of that is a 40 by 60 inch panel. The material itself costs about $149, $150 for a panel. One of those and the printing cost is about $2. One of those panels is sold for over $325,000, largely because of the artwork that was on there, but it's extremely high value products that are there, having good quality artwork. The value of those, people understand they last for generations, and they're beautiful, absolutely stunning images. Something that's kind of unique too is those panels, because this dye sublimation process, the ink's not on the surface. You have this perfectly smooth high gloss finish. But one of the other added benefits is you can clean these using any type of cleaner you choose. When prefer not to use like common or abrasive stuff. But if you're using, you want to use disinfectant, or you want to use, if this is an outdoor panel and it gets spray painted on it, you can use acetone to clean off the spray paint. It has no effect on the underlying image because the image is inside of the material. It doesn't get affected by anything you put on the outside. And that's a big factor. So this makes it where you can put these all sorts of different places, exposed to different environments, and they handle quite well. All right, so we're gonna, I think, Darcy,
Yeah.
I think there's another poll.
Yeah, if you could, over to the right there, we have, if you see the 3 red buttons, we've got some options to do another poll. So we're gonna go ahead and start this one. We're just curious, Tim went through and showed quite a few different items or different ways for doing production with dye sublimation, different ways of decoration. And curious to find out from the audience here if you were going to get into this, or if you are doing it, what item or what method would you be interested in doing, whether it's, you know, apparel, home decor, promotional goods. I guess I have to actually publish it. 1 second. The big green button at the bottom I needed to click on. So that should be coming over. And if you guys wanted to answer those, give us an idea of what item you would be interested in doing. And if you have any questions, I know Tim's going to start talking a lot about the equipment now, so you can know how to, you know, to be profitable with dye sublimation printing here. And then it's going to, if you have any questions, though, feel free to ask. I'm on here, and we've got a few others that can answer any questions that you might have. So.
All right. Well, I can, do you want me to keep going while everybody's answering the questions?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, we're going to switch gears from what people are doing and what the business potential looks like over to that part of the print solution. So what does it take to actually produce some of these products? There's, as I mentioned earlier, there's really it's a 2-part process. You need the print system that's going to generate it. You put down the specialty inks onto a transfer paper, and then you do need a heat system that's going to take the specialty ink and that transfer paper and basically heat that up and get that to transfer over to the final product that you want it to be. The heat systems, to me, I kind of look at them, and the biggest questions on those is there's many different shapes and sizes, and I got to be honest, there's all sorts of ranges in here that really suit whatever your budget potential is. Some of them are great for producing more like a retail environment. Other spots are those and things are really more have industrial capability, much faster, higher production stuff. Not everybody, there's not one answer for everybody. The easiest part on that solution, the heat system part to it, is when you're looking at this, give us a call to find out what would a solution look like. The best way to find out is call us and let us know, what are you trying to do? We can really help kind of pair that together into what a solution looks like. So that's on the print portion of this. I'm not going to go through tons of specs and speeds and feeds, but mostly I'm going to highlight just a little bit what Epson's portfolio looks like. We have a range of printers that go from 24-inch up to 64 inches in print width. A lot of these printers, there's different production capabilities to each one of these, but essentially they all are dye sublimation printers. We're all using the very similar ink chemistry. And what we can produce on our 24-inch printer, we can produce on our 44, 64, and so on. So they really, I kind of use the analogy. I like thinking of these as basically, I got one flavor, I got vanilla flavored ice cream. You want 1 scoop, 2 scoop, 3 scoops, or the whole bucket. With the exception of my one printer that we're going to talk a little bit more about, our 9470H, that one has the sprinkles on top, because that one does have, not only can it do everything that all the other printers can do, it also has those fluorescent inks available on demand. So let's take a look a little bit about just on the applications we talked about. There's different widths of the printers. And so depending on what you're looking at doing, the neat thing is if you're trying to do something like for coffee mugs, for example, an 8.5 by 11 or letter size printer can certainly do that. But if you go up to a 44-inch printer, you can do everything that the smaller format was doing, but generally you get the ability to do stuff more productively. The running cost is actually a bit lower, and be able to do that. You're able to turn them around faster. You're able to produce more things. Things if you wanted to do an all-over sublimated shirt, for example, with a 44-inch printer, you can do about about a 5XL size t-shirt, which is a massive shirt. So you can be able to produce all if you want to do all over sublimated shirts, you really do need to have a medium or mid-width printer, 44-inch, but certainly going up to the 64-inch, you can be a little bit more efficient in how you're running that, and be able to run a lot more production with overnight unattended printing. But there's advantages. As you get up to the 64-inch, you can do larger panels, you can do larger bolts of fabric, more signage products that are there, blankets and throws. So there's just a little chart to kind of give you an idea of what you can do based on what the print application or what your print width would be. So taking a look at, I said I was just going to talk about just on the higher end side of things. What Epson, and I'm not going to read off all these points, please. You guys can read. Our F9470 series. This replaced our current F93 series, and this is really our high production system. It goes 3 times faster than all of our other products below this. So it's a very fast system, and it's really geared for production printing. This is where you can set these things up. They'll run unattended. You can load up a roll of paper in a matter of 2-3 hours or 4 hours or so. You can have a complete roll printed, ready to produce thousands of square feet of material. It's fast systems that run very well in industrial environments. So there are things in here to make this work in really tough environments where it might not be ideal, but it might be on a factory floor where there's dust and fibers floating around. Perfectly fine. The system works well in that type of environment. But in that series, we actually have 2 printers that are in here. We have what we call our 9470, which is our 4-color printer. It's a dual 4-color printer. So this sets up as CMYK. It's very high speed, produces sellable goods, 1,000 square feet an hour, which translates into a lot of stuff an hour. And doing stuff within sports apparel, we generally want something on stretchy fabrics. We want to put down more ink to be able, if you're producing, for example, leggings, yoga pants and leggings, that material, if you're trying to print a really dark blue on there, it's one thing to print on the fabric and just get the surface of it where it's blue, but as that fabric stretches, you can start seeing the backing material of the fabric in there, and that's what sometimes black or blue, those dark colors, when you stretch them, they turn light colors or light gray because you're seeing the backing material. With a sports apparel mode, we're generally, trying to put down a little bit more ink to be able to color not just the surface, but actually color the backing material. So the color stays consistent even as it stretches that's in here. So when sports apparel, generally there's a lot more moving and stretching. And that's what we mean in general when we say sports apparel. What's exciting for the F9470H is this is the only product that's out there in the market that has the ability to print at full speed when you're printing just CMYK. And when we print with fluorescence, it will slow down, not half the speed, but it does slow down. But it's on a job by job basis. Every other product that's on the market, either you run, if you have fluorescent inks on board, your print speed is automatically cut in half, regardless of you use them or not. With the F9470H, you run, it's completely on a job by job basis. And the way that's possible is just because instead of we build our print heads, we build the ink, we build the print bodies. What we've done is we've added additional channels to the print head. So instead of being an 8-channel print head, we have a 10-channel print head in there. And that way we can call and reconfigure the print head in software on a job by job basis to give us that high performance. Our print heads, as I just mentioned, we do make the print head technology. That is something that's unique to Epson. By doing that, we have a lot of really cool control over how we operate that head and make sure that it stays very stable and reliable. I said I wasn't going to get too techie. This is probably the most techiest I can probably be. Just an example, visually at least, when we run our 9470H, that's a CMYK printer. Each print head, there's 2 print heads in there, and each print head runs a double set of CMYK. When we have our 9470H, we also add in fluorescent yellow and fluorescent pink. And so in that printer, when we're running in, we need the job only does not need to use fluorescent inks. The printer will run as basically the same as 9470H or 9470. It only uses dual CMYK. When we run in the fluorescent mode, what happens, the printer basically turns off one of those sets of CMYK, and we'll use CMYK plus the fluorescent yellow and fluorescent pink. In doing that, we're able to get This is where there's a little bit of a slowdown that happens with this, but we're able to use that to be able to get this on demand so that job can still get done. The next job that may not need to use fluorescent is running at full speed of the printer. And at the end of the day, that really helps drive a lot of throughput that's there. I won't go, there's a lot of words on here, and I'm sorry about that. This is more to read, I guess, from the handout side, but the big thing on our inks, Epson's really focused on making sure we have inks that are safe for the operators as well as safe for the final customers that use this. So I have a 5-month-old, and I can guarantee you everything that he grabs, he puts right into his mouth. And the big thing about that is, how do you know whatever's in there, the ink that's on there, is safe for children, or if it's for apparel where you're going to be wearing it and it's touching your skin, you don't want to have any type of reaction and cause a rash. There's a global standard that's out there, a global organization called OEcoTex that goes through, certifies these products. And what's really exciting is when you have this OEcoTex Eco Passport, what it means is it's kind of like a chain of custody. If you have fabrics or the material you're using has this passport, and you add, the only things you ever add to that material are things that also have that passport, you can show that that product meets all US safety requirements and do not necessarily need to go through product testing. If you don't have that Eco Passport and you want to sell to Target or Walmart or some products that are especially like baby products on Amazon, a lot of them are going to require you to have or validate that that product has been tested and is safe. This Eco Passport is a way to basically say it validates that, yes, this product is safe. It's already been tested to global standards, and all you're doing is you're taking the parts, putting them together, but they're all good from good materials to begin with. Last part to this, the software that we bundle in, this does come with Epson's own RIP software called Epson Edge Print. But what's exciting when we get into the fluorescent side to this is there's a lot of different ways how to do this. So it's one thing to figure out, okay, how does dye sublimation work? Cool, we figured this out. We start realizing, okay, we just need to print paper, take our paper, and then we stick that up to something that has a polyester material on it, apply heat. Okay, good, we got a finished product. Okay, now how in the world do you get fluorescence to work or not? The neat thing to the workflow for these printers is there's multiple ways to do this. So if you have an existing design that just has CMYK, and you just want to, before you start spending time trying to figure out how to actually design using special layers for fluorescence, you just want to see what would it look like. There's color replacement modes in that software. So I can choose to print just CMYK, so it prints it as is how you originally planned it for. But then I can also have it replace, take all the yellow, instead of using yellow ink, I'm going to substitute in fluorescent yellow, or a fluorescent yellow and fluorescent pink for where magenta is being used. In doing that, you can take existing designs, send them through those type of print modes, and then boom, you already have fluorescent ink being activated in those prints. Your colors are definitely going to look a little bit different because fluorescent pink does not look the same as magenta. But it's a great way to be able to, with very little design time, to take an existing design, or if you're producing work for a customer, they send you a file and you don't know exactly where to even go with that. You can put it into one of those modes and basically automatically does it. To make the most of the system is when you want to run with fluorescent CMYK plus fluorescent yellow and fluorescent pink. What's important here is, just even though we have yellow and pink, I'm saying those two terms over and over again, you can make a whole mix of different colors from fluorescent orange, greens, blues, by blending those two colors in addition to the CMYK inks that are in that system. And there's multiple ways to do this. I won't get too much into it, but you can certainly do it by spot colors, or you can even have it where you can do gradations and overlays. A little more techy than I want to get on a phone call, but there's a lot of different options on how to do this, from very simple of just simply replace yellow with fluorescent yellow, to getting into stuff where you're actually designing product intentionally with fluorescence up front. My last little bit here, I'm almost towards the tail end, so hopefully you guys do have some good questions for us. Epson does stand behind these products, so we do an on-site warranty for the first year that's here. And with all our dye sublimation products, we have what we call a rewards program. So if every bag of every ink pouch you purchase, every roll of paper you purchase, you earn points to either discounted or free warranties or service extensions for these printers for up to 3 years. So if you use this printer quite a bit, basically you can have complete coverage that covers everything from printheads to the belts and mechanisms to it, to any type of issue you have. We'll send a person out on site And that even includes today. Even if you have one of these and there's issues, as long as we're acting in accordance to whatever the local and state laws are, we can have service techs on site to deal with whatever issues that happen to have that. We stand behind this. We want these printers running. We know if you're using them and if you're using ink, that means you're making product to sell, which means it's good for your business. We want these things doing that. We don't want them sitting idle, just collecting dust. My last little bit, this is my final slide here, is just what Epson, what our value is. There's a lot of different products that are out in the market. Please do make sure you take a look at them to understand what they do. Everybody has their strengths and their benefits. What Epson's focus is really, we take care of the print solution, the printing aspect of it, so you can focus on your business. That's what we want to do. We want to partner, basically view this as a partnership. We know how to build. We're a technology company. We build printheads. We manufacture our own ink. We build our own print bodies. We put these together with software, color management, putting in the paper and the support service. All those pieces get put together. So when it comes time to actually have you got your idea, you got your design, you're ready to print, to when you have that transfer paper and you're ready to stick that on or sublimate it into whatever fabric you want, that printing portion of that, we completely cover that. We want to make sure that works, so you don't have to figure about which ink supplier, which profile you want to use. You don't have to get into that. You can focus on your business as opposed to trying to figure out how to get a printer to work.
All right, Tim. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And yeah, looking forward to more fun times.
Yep. And hopefully one of these days we'll all be back together at a future trade show. But
Exactly.
these webinars have definitely been a fun way to interact with everybody and to share what we have. So thanks everybody for attending, and you have a great Tuesday.